economics and finance before becoming a member of Parliament. And for me, this is my dream come true, to be able to stand here as the first Labour Chancellor in 14 years and the first ever female Chancellor of the Exchequer. Student halls of residence. So I think ever since then, this is my dream job. I worked in...
Rachel Reeves promised economic stability, but her actions tell a different story. The Shadow Chancellor inherited a $22 billion deficit, yet her attempts to address it have left many questioning her leadership. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. From scrapping social care caps to cutting winter fuel payments for pensioners.
Of course you don't want it interrupted by some protester, but Labour conference, the hall came together and got to its feet to drown out the noise of the protesters. We plan for these speeches. They're big moments for us. I put my heart into it.
Reeves' decisions have sparked outrage across the UK. But is there more to this story than meets the eye? Prepare to witness the unraveling of a political career as we expose the truth behind Reeves's controversial reign. Rachel Reeves's first day as Shadow Chancellor was less of a rude awakening and more of a convenient excuse. She claims to have inherited a hidden $22 billion deficit from the previous Conservative government, dramatically declaring, "I've inherited a situation that I never imagined I would, of having any gap of $22 billion. But let's be real. How does such a massive sum slip past an experienced politician like Reeves? Critics aren't buying it. And for good reason. Uncovering financial skeletons in the closet should be day one, job one for any incoming leader. Yet Reeves failed to flag this deficit immediately upon taking office. It's like a chef walking into a new kitchen and not noticing there's no food in the fridge. Something doesn't add up. Now let's talk about Reeves's so-called economic expertise. She's quick to tout her background as an economist for the Bank of England and Halifax Bank of Scotland. Impressive, right? Not so fast. It turns out her role at HBOS was more about retail banking than crunching numbers. In fact, her LinkedIn profile mysteriously got a makeover recently to reflect this slight discrepancy. Makes you wonder what other parts of her resume might be a bit flexible. Reeves's defense? She points to critical financial data allegedly concealed by the previous administration. It's a classic case of the dog ate my homework, isn't it? She's spinning a tale of being left in the dark, forced to make tough decisions to keep the economy afloat. But here's the kicker. Instead of owning up to her actions, Reeves has mastered the art of the political sidestep. In interviews, she's become a pro at deflecting blame onto the previous government. It's like watching a game of hot potato, with Reeves desperately trying to pass the responsibility to anyone but herself. This evasive dance has left many questioning her leadership chops. After all, isn't a true leader supposed to, lead? The skepticism surrounding Reeves's claim of ignorance about the $22 billion deficit is palpable. Critics argue that such a significant figure should have been as obvious as an elephant in a china shop during the transition process. It raises some serious questions about her preparedness and transparency. Was she asleep at the wheel, or is there more to this story than meets the eye? As the pressure mounts and public trust erodes, Reeves faces her toughest challenge yet. How will she navigate the stormy waters of public opinion and political scrutiny? One thing's for sure, this financial bombshell was just the beginning of Reeves's troubles. The real test of her mettle is yet to come, and the British public is watching with bated breath. Rachel Reeves's fall from grace is a tale of broken promises and shattered trust. Once hailed as a champion of the vulnerable, Reeves now finds herself cast as public enemy number one. Her pre-election pledges to protect social care and support pensioners have crumbled like a house of cards. leaving many to wonder if they were ever more than empty words. The shocking decision to scrap the $86,000 cap on social care costs sent shockwaves through the nation. Families caring for elderly relatives who had relied on this financial safety net suddenly found themselves adrift in a sea of uncertainty. The real-world impact of this move is nothing short of devastating. Imagine spending years planning for your parents' care, only to have the rug pulled out from under you. It's not just about money, it's about the emotional toll on families who now face impossible choices. Critics have rightly described Reeves's decision as a betrayal of vulnerable families. These aren't just faceless statistics, they're real people left in limbo without adequate support from a government that promised to have their backs. The lack of a real plan to support those affected is glaring, and it's no wonder that public sentiment has shifted dramatically against Reeves. But it doesn't stop there. Pensioners, already struggling with rising energy costs, lost vital winter fuel payments. It's as if Reeves is playing a twisted game of how many campaign promises can I break? The growing sense of betrayal among the public is palpable, with many feeling abandoned by a government that swore to protect living standards. So, how has Reeves handled this mounting criticism and calls for accountability about as gracefully as a bull in a china shop? Her attempts to justify these decisions have fallen flat, met with skepticism and outright disbelief. Public opinion polls show a significant decline in trust towards Reeves, with citizens feeling her policies are wildly out of touch with the realities faced by everyday families. Reeves's attempts to deflect blame have been about as effective as using a sieve to bail out a sinking ship. She's tried to point fingers at the previous administration, economic pressures, and pretty much anyone but herself. But the public isn't buying it. Social media has become a hotbed of criticism, with Reeves's leadership being torn apart by voices that grow louder by the day. As public trust continues to erode faster than a sandcastle at high tide, Reeves faces her toughest challenge yet. The Shadow Chancellor must now defend her actions on live television, a prospect that has many wondering if this will be the final nail in the coffin of her political career. Will she be able to weather this storm, or will the BBC interview expose the cracks in her carefully constructed facade? One thing's for certain, the British public will be watching, and they're in no mood for more empty promises. The BBC interview turned out to be less of a moment of truth and more of a carefully orchestrated dance. Reeves, ever the politician, dodged questions like a professional boxer, leaving viewers frustrated and skeptical. Her evasive responses and rehearsed talking points did little to address the real concerns of the British public. It's as if she forgot she was there to serve the people, not her own political agenda. Reeves's legacy is shaping up to be a cautionary tale of broken promises and economic mismanagement. Her handling of the $22 billion deficit and the social care cap fiasco will likely haunt her for years to come. It's a stark reminder that in politics, actions speak louder than words, and Reeves's actions have been deafening in their failure to match her lofty campaign promises. The future of UK economic policy hangs in the balance. Can trust be rebuilt after such a spectacular fall from grace? It's a tall order, and one that Reeves seems ill-equipped to handle. The public's reaction to her performance has been overwhelmingly critical, with many questioning her competence and integrity. As one commentator put it, Reeves's situation mirrors past instances where leaders have faced backlash for perceived incompetence or failure to deliver on promises. The political fallout has been swift and merciless. Opposition parties are circling like sharks, sensing blood in the water. Advocacy groups are up in arms, demanding accountability for the vulnerable populations left in the lurch by Reeves's policies. It's a political disaster of epic proportions, and one that could have long-lasting implications for the Labour Party's credibility on economic issues.